Good morning everyone. Frank Valkyria. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm just gonna do an update on the situation here in Amsterdam where I live, already for some times of course, as you know, and we talk about the coronavirus. Inside news from the spot. It also made it here. There are around 18 active cases. So far, no death reported, and hopefully let's keep it that way. And I have to say, I've just been down to, I live a little bit on the south side towards Amstelveen, which is a city close to Amsterdam. It's quite open and everything and so on and so forth. And I just went to do grocery. Everything seems normal. People are not panicking, and you just have to follow the common sense rules, which I want to share with you here as a sort of community service also to my audience. And we're going to keep updating on the situation. The first thing I would suggest, which is also the thing that I'm doing myself, is to try to get as much information possible from official sources, from professionals, from doctors, from people working in laboratories, all the specialists which they're working night and day now to know more about this virus and also to give the right information. I am keeping an eye also on all the numbers to have an idea of how this thing is spreading, because the more the least amount of panic there will be spread, because with the media always like marching in with all the it's what they do. Like, they always have to make feel everything like a little bit like a thriller movie, or putting fear, inoculating fear into people. And of course this is something that has to be taken seriously, but this is not the first time, I assume, that we get to this, and probably won't be the last, but we will survive this as well, hopefully, because if you look at the number, it's very important to remember that this disease, this virus is spreading like normal flu. For every person that is infected, another person will get sick. This one seems that the rate is like for every person that has the coronavirus, another 2.5 or 3 will be infected by it. But the good news is that 80+% of all the cases, they have mild symptoms. And this is also probably the reason why it's spreading so quickly, because I think that people, they just don't feel bad enough and they keep going out or to work, and they spread the disease more quickly. So here, the usual common sense maneuver, which they are, first of all, washing your hands. And everywhere you read, from professional, whatever, wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap, nice, a nice wash, and then you can use sanitizer. But you got to be careful with sanitizer, because from what I read, they have to be at least containing 60% alcohol, otherwise it's not effective. So 100% alcohol if it's available in your area, always a thumbs up. And when you go out, of course, while you're out, you don't touch yourself, because this is how you spread and gets into your body. The contact, they don't know exactly how long this thing lasts on surfaces, but I've read and I saw interviews from doctors saying that looking at other similar viruses which they have in comparison size, like, I don't know, like, the closest thing that they have to compare it to, usually the time of living lifespan on surfaces is around 6 hours. Some people were speculating that the coronavirus might stay 6 days, but the professional doctor seems to lean towards, like the 6-hour mark. So that's also good news, because means that like this thing spreads also to saliva. So if you if this thing is somewhere outside, then quickly is gonna die, especially now. I think I'm saying, I'm not a professional, but I assume that with ultraviolet rays, from the sun, the day is getting better. Probably it might help to slow it down. I don't know, that seems like a plausible thing, but it's really nice to hear that this thing doesn't last that long, because people were even panicking, like, if I get packages from China, is it still infected or something? And it doesn't seem to be the case. But the more we go on, the more we will know. And I also read that they're working really quickly, like really fast, in producing a vaccine, perhaps even for next year at the quickest time possible, which is also great news because maybe for the next flu season we are prepared, especially for older people, because like I said before, the majority of the cases, 80%, it's mild symptoms, which is a really great news because it means that a person with a good immune system will not be affected, and that's a really great news. Of course, I'm not saying that the other person, the other percentage of people which they were heal or old, they had to die, but it's unfortunate that there is so much numbers. I mean, if you start to look into numbers, it's crazy. It's scary. If you start to see how many people die every day of this or that or this disease or this condition or whatever, we just go nuts, and it's just unfortunately also the reality of this existence. But it's important to keep in mind to have the numbers, to have the numbers and being aware. If you want to use a mask because you are in an hot spot, don't use clinical mask because those, they don't work. They only work for people which they have something. If you have a cold or if you have the virus, you have the clinical mask or the surgical mask on you, not to let, the spit out or whatever. But if you don't want to get it, those things are no good. You need a mask called N95, the one with the filter for those molecules, so that they stops it to get into your system. So that's also interesting news. And for for a moment, perhaps it's good to just stay away from too crowded places. But at the same time, I also hope that this thing evens out. I was reading that people are concerned that the virus can mutate, but I also read that scientists suggest and doctors know that viruses can mutate, but sometimes they also mutate like eliminating themselves or changing, like becoming less effective, which this seems like a great news because it seems also a natural way of nature, like, it spreads a disease, but at the same time, sooner or later, has to get to a moment of evening out, because we are adapting, because that's what we've been doing here for the past 500,000 years or so. So in that way, it seems like a little bit reassuring that sooner or later we're gonna get to a moment where this thing is gonna spread less. But for the moment, again, like I said, common sense, those simple procedure of washing your hands and having sanitizer with more than 60% alcohol, avoiding too crowded places, putting a mask on if you live in an hot spot where you know that there has been like a ton of cases, that's a good idea perhaps. I have friends in China which I'm following on Instagram also to have an idea in their area what's going on, and I want to do my little part to my audience, at least, to share a little bit of common sense and what I've learned of all of those things. So again, here in Amsterdam, so far so good. I hope that things also in your city, whatever you are, work all right, and we don't panic, because also for people with businesses, I'm a business owner myself, all my clients are all restaurants, so we are a lot of us which we rely on tourism, and we rely on people just being out and eating. So none of us, in general, people don't want to go we don't want to face a condition where this thing stops, you know what I mean, because it will be detrimental for everyone. So hopefully the more we know, the more we will feel safer about this thing. And again, it seems like 80% of the cases, mild symptoms, people recover. So just pay attention if you're older and you are in a very hot area, hot spot, like if you have a compromised immune system, maybe it's a good idea also, if you feel safer, just take your precaution. You know what I mean? Those precautions that we have talked about, and the one that you feel safer to apply. In terms of immune system kind of thing, I do, and this is not an advice or whatever, I'm just sharing what I do. I do the Wim Hof method already for some time. I take cold bath and I do the breathing of Wim Hof, because it seems that there's a lot of science backing the fact that through this breathing and through the cold exposure, you can tap into accessing your immune system. And there is a lot of literature, scientific literature, supporting the fact that it seems like for the first time that you can influence the autonomic nervous system, immune system to get better. So I'm doing that. I hope my body gets a little bit stronger, and just stay healthy, just stay healthy also in this period. Perhaps smoke less, eat less junk food, sleep well, sleep the right amount of time so that you're rested and you feel good, because a strong body will be better equipped to deal with those infections. And for people also, like, this is also flu season, so people can also take perhaps a shot to avoid getting just the normal flu, because that also happens, that is still around, and a lot of people just get the flu. So it's also good to consider also in this period, perhaps if you're older, it's up to you. You talk to your doctor, and for especially older people, probably they've already done it. You get a shot to avoid further flus. You know what I mean? So anyway, I hope you stay safe. Little sort of social service here, doing my part for my audience and sharing from the inside. We're gonna do more update here from Amsterdam. I always spread love, wash your hands, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.